What is going on, everyone? This is Joe, coach of the Ann Arbor Ampharos, and I'm here with the Week 3 team builder for the NPBA. Looking at our matchup this week, it's a lot better than the last. I'm facing the Gainesville Gardevoirs and the coach Psycho. This is one of the top teams in the division. Power rankings had it at number 1 and number 2 for the two people who did that. In my personal view, I also see this as a very strong team. I'm not sure what the coach's record has been. I don't know if it's. I know it's not 0-2. It might be 1-1 or it might be 2-0. My record is 0-2. I've lost both my games and a brutal loss last week, and then a more reasonable loss in the first week. But if you haven't noticed, we do have a new member of the team. So right here, I actually don't know if you can see my mouse, but on the top left, I've replaced Deoxyspeed with Victini. I know I never really did a draft analysis video. I recorded one. It wasn't good. I had really bad audio at the time. I may still do kind of a team breakdown video if I'm feeling like it. I may end up just not doing it because it's already 3 weeks in at this point, but regardless, I didn't think Deoxyspeed was really doing enough damage or providing enough utility. It's kind of supposed to do both, but I kind of felt like it sort of did both, but not that well. Whereas Victini's really just going to be a nice offensive threat. Gives me more pivoting. I can now pivot between Victini and Mega Manectric and sometimes Hawlucha. And I guess Kabutops as well. So adding that to the team is going to be really nice. V-Create is really hard to switch into. And this first week, it's a pretty good matchup for it. It's not the best, I'll say, but it really makes his Mega Scizor a lot worse. So, without any further ado, going on to my opponent's team, Psycho's team. First up, he's got Mega Scizor. This is a huge threat. It's got Sword Stance, Bullet Punch, sweeping potential, also gets dual Wing Beat, as well as U-Turn, Defog, Bug Bite, Knockoff, that's the other one, and then Roost. Normally this would be a huge threat, but since I picked up Victini, my prediction is actually he won't bring this Mega Scizor. It's okay against stuff like Garchomp, and like it's pretty bad. It's pretty hard walled against Celesteela. Of course, Victini destroys it, and something like Mega Manectric even has fire coverage for it. So even though like it's pretty good against Hawlucha, it's solid against Tapu Fini, and it's good against my lower tiers, I can really see this Mega Scizor not coming this week. Next up, he has Clefable, which definitely is coming this week. It's his huge defensive check to my Garchomp. Clefable is just incredibly bulky, gets Wish, Teleport. I don't think it can run Wish and Teleport on the same set, if I'm not mistaken. Soft Boiled, Stealth Rock, setup moves with like Calm Mind. It can go Cosmic Power, Stored Power, I believe, and just huge coverage. Clefable also has kind of an interesting role this week, something we're going to have to play around weirdly. It has both Unaware and Magic Guard as its abilities. It could also run, I think, like Cute Charm or something. But Unaware and Magic Guard are both very interesting here because he might want to run Magic Guard because I have so much setup on this team. Victini, I think, gets Calm Mind. Of course, Swords Dance for Garchomp. Calm Mind Fini, Sword Stance on Hawlucha, Beast Boost on Celesteela. So all the top 5 of my Pokemon can set up. Drapion might get Sword Stance, I don't know, regardless. Drapion's obviously a counter to Clefable anyway, so I don't think he's going to bring it. I don't think he's going to use it as a Drapion check. Regardless, of my first 5, all of their setup potential is pretty much neutered by Clefable's just Unaware and overall bulkiness. However, he also wants Magic Guard against me because I have pretty solid hazard stacking potential against him with Toxic Spikes on Drapion, Stealth Rock on Garchomp, as well as a good amount of like Toxic users. I am bringing Toxic on 2 Pokemon this week, actually. I know it's a bit of a non-bow with Misty Terrain on the Tapu Fini, but regardless, I think his Clefable is in a kind of an awkward position because it sort of wants both Unaware and Magic Guard against me. If I had to predict, I would guess Unaware, which is going to make Toxic Strats a bit better. Hopefully getting up Stealth Rocks will allow us to scout that out. Next up, he's got Rotom Wash, a great defensive or even offensive pivot. This is probably going to be his defogger this week, though I could also see Moltres running defog. Of course, Volt Switch is quite good against me. I have a pretty huge electric weakness on this team in Hawlucha, Feeny, and Celesteela. Of course, Mega Manectric has Volt Absorb before Mega Evolving, so it can safely switch into a Volt Switch, though it doesn't love taking Hydro Pumps. Victini is also weak to water here. Garchomp isn't really weak to it, but at the same time, Garchomp can't do a lot back. So Rotom Wash is probably his biggest threat this week. If I had to go through his team and pick out a biggest threat, definitely Rotom Wash. I could even see it being offensive this week. That said, it doesn't have a ton of power, and I think I have enough to just chip it down and take it out. One of my answers to it would be Appletun, which I am not bringing this week, and honestly, I might want to bring Appletun. I might want to reconsider some of my team. However, as you know, I always say, if I'm going to make a change, I'll let you guys know by the battle. So for the moment, I'm going to stick with my current team. Moving on, he's got Moltres. With heavy-duty boots, Moltres' Fire Flying typing is made a lot better in this generation. Not weak to the Stealth Rocks that I'm going to be bringing on something like a Garchomp or a Kabutops. Of course, it's pretty good here as an answer to Celesteela. Also very good against Hawlucha and Appletun. However, overall, it's not amazing in this matchup. It loses pretty hard to Tapu Fini and Mega Manectric. It's not the best against Garchomp as it gets Stone Edge and Rock Slide. And even Celesteela gets Rock Slide, which I am bringing this week. And of course, Victini gets something like Bolt Strike, Thunderbolt to take it out. So I could see him bringing it. I do think he will bring it, but it's not the biggest threat to me this week. I'm not really weak to fire. My only fire weakness is the Celesteela, and then I've got a bunch of resistances. In fact, my first 3 Pokemon resist it. Even Appletun resists fire, though it is weak to flying. And then Kabutops as well. So I do think he brings it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. So far, Clefable and Rotom Wash absolutely are coming. Not so sure about Moltres. Next up is Swampert, another huge problem Pokemon for me. I think Swampert's also going to definitely come. It's a great Stealth Rock user. If you look at his team, his only other Stealth Rocker, I could be wrong here, is Duraludon. So Swampert, it just checks my team pretty hard. It's only weak to Grass. So it's going to force me to run some graft coverage on random Pokemon here. Overall, Flip Turn on it is pretty good. It can tank a lot of hits. It's just really bulky, and it can hit back pretty hard. It gets solid ice coverage for that Garchomp. And then overall, just a pretty strong Pokemon here. Next up, he's got Heliolisk. I think Heliolisk is also going to come just because of that electric weakness I have. Pretty good answer to Tapu Fini on his team as well as Celesteela. Overall, it doesn't get very good coverage. I believe it gets pretty much electric moves, normal moves, and then like Flamethrower, if I'm not mistaken, or like fire moves. I don't know exactly which ones. It might get water moves as well, not quite sure. It has 109 speed, which is a solid speed tier against me. Also 109 special attack, so it's not hitting too hard, but a choice spec set's still going to be pretty scary against something like my Tapu Fini. Next up, Alakazam, 120 base speed. It's going to outspeed most things on my team, except for my Mega Manectric. It's also just got a ton of special attack, pretty good coverage. It can hit most of my things for super effective damage, actually. That said, it doesn't hit the hardest with some moves, because it'll be forced to run things like Dazzling Gleam and Shadow Ball, which are only 80 base power, as opposed to something like Thunderbolt, which he probably also runs, which is 90 base power. But it makes him answering Victini and Garchomp a little bit weaker. Next up, he's got Toxicroak. Oh, by the way, I think Alakazam probably comes here, just because of its electric coverage. Toxicroak, solid physical attacker, pretty good in, like, the rain, I guess. I don't think it's very good here, though. Pretty weak to my Victini, my Garchomp, my Celesteela, my Hawlucha. Really not something I expect this week, so I'm not really going to say too much about it. He could bring it. It gets Drain Punch. That's kind of a useful move on it. Anyways, Liepard or Leapard is a nice prankster Pokemon. It can do some tricky things, but it's it's also got knockoff, I think. Overall, pretty weak Pokemon. I don't expect him to bring it. I'm not weak to Dark. My only Dark weakness is Victini, and he has better ways to answer Victini, like Rotomosh, Swampert, Clefable, even Moltres. Nah, not Moltres. But anyways, Liepard, overall, it's a pretty niche mon. I would not expect it to come in this matchup. Bouffalant, pretty tanky, hits decently hard, gets Head Smash. I actually could see Bouffalant coming here. Of course, Celesteela pretty much walls it, but if it does come, it's going to hurt a lot of my team. Does really good damage. Not a lot to say. It's pretty simple. It's going to do damage. It's going to take one hit, and then it's going to die. That's pretty much what Bouffalant does. But yeah, if I had to pick a low tier Pokemon, definitely the Bouffalant. Next up, he's got Duraludon. This is a good Stealth Rock setter. It's actually 85 base speed. A lot of people don't realize how fast this thing is because it looks like it'd be slow. It's quite tanky. It is Steel and Dragon type. Kind of weird to have both of those on one Pokemon, but he also has a Steel type in Scizor, so that's not that weird. Overall, I could see this coming. It's not amazing into Garchomp, and it's, again, decently walled by Celesteela and even Tapu Fini. But it's just a bulky Pokemon. I could definitely see him bringing it. And last up, he's got Go-Goat. Go-Goat has Sap Sipper. I think it's really an answer to grass types. He's got a pretty decent grass weakness on his team. And I have no grass types besides Appletun, so I really doubt Go-Goat comes, especially the Celesteela. If you can't tell, Celesteela is absolutely amazing in this matchup. My apologies. I am losing my voice again, it seems. But as I said, Go-Goat, I'm not expecting. So now that I've said all that, I'm kind of thinking on the fly, what would his 6 Pokemon be? Definitely Clefable, Rotomosh, Swampert. Probably Alakazam and Heliolisk, and then the last one, something of Mega Scizor, Duraludon, or Moltres. I think if I had to pick, probably Moltres. I don't think Mega Scizor will come here, because it's not a great matchup for it. Then again, a lot of people kind of just automatically bring their Mega without really thinking about it, which is totally fine because it's always going to be pretty good. So, yeah, I would say those are probably what's likely going to come. And without any further ado, get into my team. So first off, I've got the Victini for the first match he's ever coming to. This is a heavy-duty boot set. I think my opponent is extremely likely to have Stealth Rocks here. And looking at his team in terms of speed, he's not the fastest. His only fast Pokemon are Heliolisk and Alakazam. So this 176 speed Jolly Nature is to outspeed Moltres. I'm mainly physically attacking stuff. V-Create kills most things other than his 2 water types. Bolt Strike is there for the Moltres, as well as it'll do solid damage to the Rotomosh. Rotomosh kind of checks this. And then Energy Ball also does pretty good damage to Rotomosh and is a lot of damage to Swampert. Kind of depends on what EVs he's running on Swampert for if it's going to live the Energy Ball or not, but that's what I'm running as coverage for it, because otherwise I'm completely walled by it. Of course, U-Turn is also great for something like the Alakazam, as well as if he brings Liepard, or, you know, if I just want to get out of a situation against like a Rotomosh here. For the EVs, of course, just max attack, almost max speed, and then I've got a bit of special attack. I am Jolly Nature because I did not want to sacrifice any bulk against this team. The special attack is to help against the Swampert. It doesn't like guarantee any OHKOs, it just kind of increases my percentage of killing him or 2-hit KOing him depending on his EV spread. And then I just put a little extra into HP for some added bulk there. It was pretty hard to calc against him because you don't know if Swampert's going to be max HP, max defense, max special defense, no HP, all speed, something like that. probably going to be max HP, and then either some special defense, max special defense, or none. A little hard to predict, so the calcs here were a bit hard, but overall, Victini's pretty strong in this matchup. Next up, I've got a Choice Banded Drapion. Drapion's actually extremely good in this matchup. With the Jolly nature and 216 speed, I can also outspeed that Moltres. Of course, I'm running Sniper, but I'm not running any like Sniper shenanigans, so it's just like an added bonus if I happen to get a crit. I've got Fire Fang for the Scizor, Poison Jab as kind of my main stab. Poison Jab hits most things. Knockoff as well is amazing here. And then Rock Slide is to Oko Moltres. So going back to his team, Rock Slide will definitely kill the Moltres. Poison Jab is going to do a ton of damage to most things, even the Alakazam. And then Knockoff is for like the Swampert and just general like getting rid of items on like maybe the Rotom or something. And of course, Fire Fang just so I don't get hard walled by Scizor, because Scizor would definitely wall Poison Jab, Knockoff, Rock Slide pretty hard, even if I brought like Earthquake or something. And there wasn't really a great fourth move here. One moment. My apologies. Just had to mute my mic for a second there. As I was saying, Fire Fang's just for the Scizor, and there wasn't a great move here. Could have run Toxic Spikes, didn't end up feeling that was worth it, because I think the Choice Band is really nice here. It lets me kill a lot of things in one hit. And this is kind of my main answer to Clefable, I would say, if I had to pick one main role for it here, but it's also just pretty fast in this matchup as well. Next up, I've got a defensive Garchomp set. So this is mainly specially defensive with a bit of physical defense and then a lot of HP. I've got Fire Blast, Stealth Rock, Toxic, and Earthquake. Pretty weird set, I'd say. Special and physical, as well as tanky with Toxic. I got Leftovers and Rough Skin. So this is going to be really good if he ends up bringing that Scizor. His Scizor won't really be able to do anything to this. It also does a lot to... It's a good answer to the Alakazam, actually, being so specially defensive. And overall, it's kind of hard for his team to take down. Stealth Rocks are amazing in this matchup. Of course, he can remove them, but it's going to be really nice to chip down his Swampert, chip down his Rotom-Wash. Hopefully, this is actually mainly a Toxic user. Hopefully I can Toxic his Rotom or I can Toxic his Swampert. That's going to be my main ways to take those down. And overall, like, Earthquake is pretty nice here. Of course, he has some immunities to it, but if I can just get it off on the Alakazam or the Heliolisk, it's going to be pretty nice. Of course, being so weak to Electric, I have to have a good ground type to be able to resist those or be immune to those moves. So Garchomp is pretty necessary here, as he's going to have pretty solid electric coverage against me. One last thing, it's pretty good as a switch into Rotom-Wash. Of course, I don't actually have Dragon coverage for it because it'd be immune to Earthquake, it resists Fire Blast, but I'm just going to try to Toxic it, get up rocks, and then just switch out into something else. Next up, I got Tapu Fini. A great wall here. It actually walls most of his team. I've got Surf, Defog, Knockoff, and Haze. Sorry if there was a bit of a knock there on my microphone. This is a specially defensive set with Leftovers. It's just going to be my main Defogger here. He's got Rocks and a couple Pokemon. And then he has no water immunity unless he brings a Dry Skin Toxicroak, which I find highly unlikely. Overall, this is kind of to prevent him from sweeping me. It's very bulky. I'm going to be able to annoy him by knocking off his items, get some solid damage off on some things with Surf, and prevent any setup with Haze. He could have like Agility on his Moltres, he could have Swords Dance on his Scizor, he could have something on his Clefable, Calm Mind even on his Alakazam, so this is going to prevent all of those from sweeping me. It's going to be pretty nice here. Next up, this is a nice set here, kind of spicy. Power Herb, Celesteela, so this is just max special attack, max HP, a bit of speed to speed creep the Clefable. Um, I'm going for the Power Herb Meteor Beam. So his team, I will say, is not weak to rock. He's only weak to rock on one thing, which is the Moltres. But Moltres would otherwise wall the Celesteela. I said I was running Rock Slide earlier. I meant to say I'm running Meteor Beam. So Meteor Beam's going to raise my special attack, one-hit KO the Moltres if it tries to come in. I've also got Giga Drain for his water types, Flash Cannon for the Clefable, Flamethrower for the Scizor, and then I can kind of just Flash Cannon the Alakazam. I guess Heliolisk is kind of good against this, but if I get a boost and he's running, well, he wouldn't run Dry Skin. He'd probably run Solar Power against me. I don't really know. Maybe he'd run Dry Skin to have a water immunity. But if I have a Meteor Beam boost, Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Giga Drain still going to do a good amount to that Heliolisk because it's not the bulkiest Pokemon. If I can get a kill with this thing, it's going to be pretty nice. I can maybe sweep him just because of the longevity this has with Giga Drain, as well as just the bulk overall. I'm thinking Celesteela is going to be pretty strong here, and I guess if I would classify its role, I'd say it's a late game sweeper. Last up, I've got Mega Manectric, pretty standard set, just running enough speed to outspeed, let's see, I guess Alakazam? Yeah. So Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Flamethrower, and Toxic. Toxic, of course, for the Swampert, otherwise I'm just completely walled by it. Also, it's not bad against some of his other Pokemon. Potentially that Clefable not being Magic Guard, that's where this is going to be huge. Flamethrower, of course, for that Scizor, and then Electric is a pretty good type against him. I mean, not particularly, but it's like solid against him. Of course, Swampert's a huge wall here. That's why I have the grass coverage on the Victini and the Celesteela. But if Swampert's dead, I can pretty much just Volt Switch around to do a ton of damage. This thing, I'm not running Signal Beam because Thunderbolt's actually going to do like just enough to the Alakazam anyway. I didn't think it was worth running the Signal Beam. Also, like, I'd rather have the Toxic overall and not sacrifice any of these other moves than have the Signal Beam. Mega Manectric's going to pair really nicely. Sorry, I kind of split these up weirdly. It's just the order I happen to put them on. It's going to pair really nicely with this Victini as they can pivot around with Volt Switch and U-Turn. And that's going to be really strong here. Allow me to chip down my opponents while using the Stealth Rocks on Garchomp to chip them down on their switches as well. So those are going to be three really good early game mons that hopefully soften up the team for my late game Wincon and Celesteela. Drapion's going to be, I guess, a revenge killer. And then Tapu Fini is just sort of some insurance. Defog, Knockoff Haze, really just utility this week. And then just Surf as a nice attacking move. So, as I said earlier, I have lost my 2 games this season, so this win definitely means a lot. If I can get this win, it'd be pretty huge. I started off last season 1-2. I won the championship. I started off this season 0-2, but if we win, I'll be 1-2, which means I will win the championship because I've never started a season 1-2 and then not won the championship after. I'm pretty sure you can't really argue with that logic. So hopefully we were able to pull it out this week. Or pull it off, I should say. Looking back at the matchup, I just want to kind of think out loud for a second of should I bring Appletun? I'm thinking it's pretty bad against Scizor. It's in fact incredibly terrible against Scizor. It's incredibly terrible against Moltres. It's pretty bad against Clefable, but it's so good against Rotomosh and Swampert, as well as Heliolisk, and it's okay against Alakazam. I'm very tempted. I just don't know what I would drop for it. That's the thing. I really want to bring Appletun here, but this team is so like tightly constructed. I don't think they're